Many African American women develop the salt-sensitive form of hypertension. Approximately 40% of African Americans have hypertension, the highest rate of any racial or ethnic group in the United States. But there is little data about what makes them more susceptible to this condition. Alterations in aldosterone regulations may play a role because aldosterone causes the kidney to retain salt. The level of aldosterone is related to how a body type distributes body fat. Caucasians generally store fat in the abdomen area, whereas African Americans have fat distributed throughout the body in a layer under the skin. The 6-month study involving 35 Caucasians and African Americans with hypertension found that aerobic exercise training program reduced aldosterone levels in Caucasians by 32%, but levels for African Americans were reduced by only 8%. Total body fat was reduced only in Caucasians, which might be a clue to the drop in aldosterone. In a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled study involving 32 obese postmenopausal white and black American women, results indicate that soy supplementations for 3 months may help reduce subcutaneous abdominal fat in white women and total body fat in black women. Soy supplementation reduced total and subcutaneous abdominal fat and interleukin-6. It reduced abdominal fat in obese postmenopausal women. Caucasians primarily lost subcutaneous and total abdominal fat, and African Americans primarily lost total body fat. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention researchers follow the diets and medical records of more than 12,000 adults for an average of about 15 years. Those who had the highest sodium intake and lowest potassium intake had the highest risk of dying from cardiovascular event or illness. Subjects who had the lowest ratio of sodium to potassium, that is, nearly equal consumption of each, were the least likely to die of a heart attack or stroke. And there you have it. Just as Dr. Spreen has been telling us for years, when potassium intake is enough to balance sodium intake, there's no reason to avoid salt like some kind of dietary poison. So now that the mainstream has caught up with this very simple concept, let's move on to the next important sodium issue. CDC researchers, are you listening? Please conduct a study to reveal just how thoroughly damaging it can be for elderly patients to cut their sodium intake as low as it will go. A very low sodium blood level is called hyponatremia. Here, hope I said that right. And it's a condition inflicted on seniors every day by misinformed doctors and a misinformed media. If you're in your 70s or 80s and you confide in your doctor that you're feeling fatigued, your balance isn't so good anymore, and sometimes you're easily confused, you know exactly what he's going to tell you. Something like, these things are to be expected in advanced years, and that's why doctors often misdiagnose for hyponatremia. Several years ago, German researchers showed that a surprising number of seniors suffered from hyponatremia. The study reported that a large majority of the elderly subjected said that salt use causes high blood pressure. The fact is, lowering sodium intake may actually increase risk of heart attack and death. In 3 different trials that tested low sodium diets on patients with kidney disease and heart failure, results linked the special diets to higher risk of hospitalization, cardiovascular events, and death. Yeah, that wasn't supposed to happen. According to Dr. David McCarran, a nutritionist and University of California professor, there is currently no reliable evidence that backs up the accepted recommendation to reduce sodium intake for heart health. Dr. McCarran says the recommendation is based only on opinion and the demonization of salt by health authorities. African American women can take a great deal away from this research, even though it is not specifically targeted toward them as a group. Specifically, fight back aldosterone. Take potassium in equal amounts to sodium intake, Limit foods high in fat, as fat seems to be the driving force in promoting hypertension. Supplement with soy to lower total body fat. Exercise regularly to engage a healthy metabolism and promote healthy blood flow. See a doctor regularly for checkups.